Hey guys, have you ever wondered what a PhD is? I have a PhD, and I met a young woman last week that is, and I hate to use this word, but she is a baller PhD. Okay. A PhD in my world is pride, hustle, and desire. Miss Dominique, how are you?
I'm well. How are you?
I am doing fantastic. Thank you so much for joining me on my podcast.
Yeah, thanks for having me. I'm excited to be here.
This day before Thanksgiving. You're in the real estate market. How did that happen? I know you told me the other day, but I want to hear this again. How did you get into real estate? How did you find your way into this crazy business?
Okay, so I'm originally from California.
Okay.
Don't hold that against me. I got here ahead of the craze, and I did not bring them with me. I went to UT in Knoxville, Tennessee. And honestly, I enjoyed the lack of traffic. My mom asked me when I was done with school if I was going to come back, and I said, yeah, probably not. I enjoyed what East Tennessee had to offer. I never had like 4 seasons being in California. And so this was just a cool new experience and a new dynamic for me. So I stayed. I actually got into the real estate industry. I had gone to nursing school. In the middle of nursing school, I got my real estate license and decided to do real estate part-time. And at that time, the hospital that I was working at in the ER shut down. And so I kind of took it as a sign and got out of the medical industry and got into real estate full time. And I have not looked back, to be completely honest.
And I love that because I don't think we can do what we do part-time. I know there's a lot of part-time agents and there's a lot of part-time loan officers.
Yeah.
But if we're going to make this our career, and we have,
Yeah.
okay, if we're going to make it our career, then let's go all in. And when I talk about that pride, hustle, and desire, man, when we had our conversation last week, all I could think of is I could talk to this lady for hours. and I want to do this a lot because you do have a lot to say. Tell me why have you been so successful? What do you think it is?
I think it has a lot to do with I'm really education driven. So when it comes to my clients, I really want to educate them on what they're doing, how they're doing it, and how it's going to affect them long term. So I always go in to, especially like first time home buyers, I'm like, hey, listen, I know you think this is your forever home. It's not. I guarantee you'll call me in 5 to 7 years and we'll be looking for something different. And so when I go into homes with them, I go in with the notion of like, hey, I'm going to talk about the morbid, like, hey, what's resale going to look like on this house? Immediately off the bat, I'm like, hey, you're attracted to this home because of why. And then, let's profile the buyers when we go to resell. They're like, well, we don't want to resell this house. I'm like, yeah, you do. And if it's not resale, okay, let's talk about what it's going to look like to turn this house into a rental, right? Passive income. So my big thing is like, I am big on education, and I think people are receptive of that because they don't teach you how to buy a house in school, right? They didn't teach us how to get loans. They didn't teach us any of that stuff. I know the Pythagorean theorem real good though. The distance equation, no big deal. But they didn't teach us how to buy a house. So when clients are in this, their biggest purchase of their life, I think when you have someone that's educating you for the long haul, I think that's what's made me so successful is that people are start trusting that like, I have your back, right? I am 10 toes down in this real estate industry. My retirement is in the real estate market. Like that's what I believe in is the real estate market. I believe in owning a piece of the pie. I believe in owning land. They're not making any more of it. I can make more houses. I can't make more land.
That's right.
So I think people are really attracted to like, oh man, she really does like believe in the real estate industry and believes in the real estate market and believes in owning your home and having equity in your walls. So I think that's yielded some success for me, but I also think that I just stay busy. If I don't have clients, I'm finding clients. I told you this quote the other day. I'm a firm believer in idle hands make for devil's play.
So
I'm not playing with the devil.
There's something to be said about not just hard work, but doing work the right way. And when I started my, if you want to call it the podcast, I started with the radio show 14 years ago. And what I wanted to do at that time was to expose all the games that are played in this business on your side of the table and on my side of the table. And I want the education part of it is so important to me. Like I told you right before we started, I've got a family coming in here to meet with me face to face because they want to walk through that process. I do so many Zoom calls now that we all got on Zoom because of the COVID and because of what was going on in that world at that time. And I love sitting down face to face with somebody. And I tell people it's not Dominique, you could not sell me a house. You could not. Okay. I can't sell somebody alone.
Right.
What we do is we walk them through that process and show the good, the bad, the ugly. I've always said there's only three answers. There's yes, let's dance. We can go right now. Or there's no, not right now, but here is a plan. Okay. And about 1 out of 75 applications, there's nothing we can do. And so it's really about taking somebody and walking them through that process because, you said it, and NAR backs it up. 5 to 7 years is the average time people stay in a home. Okay. So we know that they are going to buy again. And it's about painting that picture for them.
Right.
And here's the thing. We do this every single day. We do it every day and we see it. But the people that we deal with, they're doing it once every 5 to 7 years.
I'll tell you this though, if you're going to do it and you want to do it with the notion of like making your real estate work for you, that number from 5 to 7 years goes to 2 years.
Mm-hmm. That's it. Mm-hmm. That's it. But you know what? If we're not thinking that way, if we're not talking that way, if we're not planting those seeds, it's not going to work. You said something earlier about the education part, and they don't teach this in school. About 7 years ago, a local high school coach, I did his loan, and he was an economics teacher. And I made the comment to him. I said, listen, the problem is when we're in high school, we're not teaching about credit. Mm-mm. When they're in college, they're not teaching about credit. He said, I said, I would love to come to your class. And so for about 3 years while he was still there, I would go to his senior class and teach about credit. And Dominique, this is what I did. I said, okay, you guys are 17, 18, 16, 17, 18 years old. How many want to buy a car one day? Everybody raised their hand.
Yeah. Who
wants to buy a house one day? Most people raised their hand. I said, okay. I said, count off 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3. I said, now, the number 2s, sit down. The number 3s, sit down. The number 1s, the left standing, those are the only ones that are going to be able to because of the mistakes that you're going to make.
Right.
And I brought up a credit report. Of course, I had to black out all the names, of course, but to show them what credit means and what it does for us. I love that piece of it. I truly love that piece of it. So you're not new to Knoxville now, but you've been a realtor since 2017. Is that correct?
Yes.
Okay. Where do you get your clients?
I learned it in church one day. It was the biggest, for some reason, the message just kind of hit home to me. And it was talking about finding your purpose and then spreading your purpose in all the places you live, work, and play. So that's what I've done. I educate people that around me, in my general vicinity of like where I live in Knoxville. I educate the people who I've like worked with and I went to school with. And then, I like to go to the gym. I CrossFitted for a long time. So like people that I went to the gym with and stuff. And a lot of those people that I've sold houses to are all like referrals now after that. Heck, I'm working on a new build right now with a client. He just texted me this morning. He was a referral from a client. That is also a friend. And so it just trickles from there, right? You had a good experience. Oh, use this girl. She's a bulldog. She's going to work for you. Right. So that's just kind of how it's worked out. I'm very fortunate, honestly, to have the referral base that I have. I have great clients, and they have taken care of me really well by referring me out. I appreciate that. But honestly, that, and then I get some stuff from like Instagram and Facebook and such. People will see, one of the biggest things that people don't know is that you can use your home or your land as the bank. And so I talk about that often. I'm like, hey, in 2021, I bought more than a dozen properties. How'd you do that? Well, I leveraged all of them. What do you mean? How did I do that? Let me teach you.
Sure.
So
that's right.
I did I rinse, wash, repeat on a bunch of properties. I would buy, I would hold, I would renovate and flip. I would buy, renovate, and rent. I did all of it. So when I talk about it on Instagram and social media and stuff, people are pretty drawn to that. Like, hey, teach me how you did that. And so then they become clients, and then yeah.
I love that. There's something I want to ask you, and I'm trying, because I have a defining moment. Okay. You've mentioned church a couple of times. Mm-hmm. Okay. And being blessed. So I know where your mind's at. Okay.
Yeah.
Because I'm going to tell you something. I truly believe what I'm doing now is a calling. Okay.
Yeah.
The first 6 or 7 years I was in the business, it wasn't, it was a job. Okay.
Mm-hmm.
and I worked at, it was 99% refinances at that time. Okay. In 2006, I switched over to where it was 99% purchase. And the refis I do now are my past clients. There was a time that about in 2000, we moved into our new office 2007, and there was something that happened. Okay. And to me, it was a defining moment that told me that not only do I love what I do, but this is where God has me. Okay. Has there been a defining moment for you where you said, okay, this is what God has me in place to do, and this is why I do what I do?
I can't necessarily say there's been like one defining moment. I am much like you. I got into real estate because someone, cooked up this really big dream, like, oh, you can make more as a realtor than you can as a nurse. And they weren't wrong, right? I appreciate that they put that out there and they stuck it in my head, and I just kind of like ran with it. For me also, real estate in the very beginning was just a job. I still love going to see houses, and I still love taking ideas that other people have done and like implementing them in like what I do. And I still love getting like the ooey gooey feelings when people are finding their first home,
Sure.
or find their dream home. I love that. But it was still a job in the first couple of years. Sometimes you just feel like you're just supposed to be where you're supposed to be. And I don't want to call it a purpose because it doesn't sound right, or calling doesn't sound right, but you're just like, I feel content where I am because I know I'm doing good things. And I never had like one defining moment, but I have had multiple moments where I'm like, you know what, I am doing a good thing. And when people are in a situation like, hey, I got to get out of this house, something happened, I buy the house, I buy them out of the foreclosure, and then buy the house from them, and it kind of works in everyone's favor. Those are those moments where I'm like, man, I educated you. You're not going to lose your house. You have money in your pocket, and now we can go look for something that you like can, maintain. And those are those moments where I'm like, yeah, I mean, I'm doing right. I'm doing good.
You're making a difference.
Yeah.
You're making a difference.
I would say like, hey, I didn't know any of that stuff. Like, thank you for teaching me. I had another client. She's 25 or 26. She just bought her first house all on her own. Put like 15% down. Had saved it all up. I mean, she did good. And I was like, man, I'm so excited for you. I'm so proud of you. Like, I don't even know you. You're a complete stranger. But I'm just like, I'm so honored to be a part of this process with you. And her dad said, I am just so grateful for you that we felt so comfortable. She hasn't found a realtor that she's been comfortable with until you. And so we're so appreciative of like you holding her hand. That's one of those moments.
It's very good.
Yeah.
Well, let's do this. What's the best way for somebody to find you?
You wouldn't know the spot like that. Well, here's my phone number. I'm just kidding. The Instagram is probably the best thing to find me on. Instagram and Facebook. Facebook is Dominique Nicolina. And my Instagram handle is the McLaren Queen.
The McLaren Queen.
Yes.
And that's another story that we're going to talk about again. Well, guys, I'm Kevin Blair with the Kevin Blair team here at Element Home Loans. Our office number is 423-488-7571. It rings 24/7. And if it's outside of office hours, it rings over to my cell phone. If you like this kind of information, hit like, hit subscribe. If you're in that East Tennessee area and would like to talk to a true pro, one that's got the pride, the hustle, and the desire, and that will teach you and walk you through that process, Dominique is your girl. Dominique, thank you so much. I really do appreciate this. And will you come back?
Of course. Yes.
All right.
Let's talk more.
Guys, happy Thanksgiving, and we'll talk to you again.
Bye now.